Hello everyone, my name's Sharon Sherry and welcome to a session on collaborations with Anne Stuart, Jenny Crusie, moderated by Amy Andrews. Before I hand over to Amy to moderate, let's talk about our wonderful authors. Anne Stuart is a Grandmaster of the genre, winner of Romance Writers of America's prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award, survivor of more than 40 years in the romance business and still just keeps getting better. Her first novel was Barrett's Hill, a Gothic romance published by Ballantine in 1974, when Anne was just 25. Since then, she's written more Gothics, Regency's romantic suspense, romantic adventure, series romance, suspense, historical romance, paranormal, and mainstream contemporary romance for publishers such as Doubleday, Harlequin, Silhouette, Avon, Zebra, St. Martin's Press, Barclay, Dell, Pocket Books, Montlake, and Fawcett. I'm so tired just reading that.
I know.
When she's not travelling, she's at home in northern Vermont with her luscious husband of 40 years, an empty nest, 5 sewing machines, and when she's not working, she's watching movies, listening to rock and roll, and spending far too much time quilting and making doll clothes because she has no intention of ever growing up. I love those intentions. Ms. Jenny Crusie. Jenny is the New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author of 20 novels, 1 book of literary criticism, miscellaneous articles, essays, novellas, and short stories, and is also the editor of 3 essay anthologies. She lives in a cottage in New Jersey surrounded by deers, bears, foxes, and dachshunds, where she often stares at the ceiling and counts her blessings. And of course, to all of our readers, Amy Andrews needs no introduction. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the ladies. Enjoy the session, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, can we hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. How are we going, ladies? How's when Sharon was reading out your bio, Jenny, about the deers and the bears, and I was thinking, and COVID, New Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of COVID.
With this. Plus, it's like 90 degrees here, Fahrenheit. It is broiling. So
Yes, here too.
It was supposed to disappear when it was hot, though.
Missed that. What?
It was supposed to disappear when it was hot, remember? The virus.
Oh, COVID, yes. Yes.
It's so funny because I was like, we've got it here, and it's summer here, so it's not now. So you're boiling, and I'm actually it's not too bad here today. It's winter here in Australia, but it's quite nice where I am. It's like Florida where I am. Okay, so collaboration. I'm going to be talking about the 2 books that you ladies collaborated on together to start with, and then, wherever it goes after that, who knows? That's fine. Now, if I'm right, I think the first book was The Unfortunate Misfortunes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, and I have the book here. I'm going to show it.
Oh, good.
It's a beautiful cover too, isn't it? Did you like the cover?
Oh, loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved that.
It's got this matte kind of feel, and it's got the raised print. It's really lovely.
I know, it's beautiful. That was a great cover.
Okay, so now you guys wrote this book with Eileen Dreyer. That's right. That's how I pronounce her name, Dreyer, yeah, Eileen Dreyer. Now, whose idea was it to all write together to start with?
Eileen's, I think.
Yes, it was Eileen's. Eileen came up with the original idea.
She came up with the original idea for the book.
Mm-hmm.
We were
for the plot.
Well, the premise.
The premise.
We were at the RWA one summer, the conference, and we were sitting in the bar, and she said she had this idea about 3 sisters, and what she was really hung up on was that her girl would be a shapeshifter and turn into the guy's mother at really tense moments. And I thought, okay, she's had a lot to drink. But we kind of picked it up and ran with it then and did the 3 sisters thing.
And so was it hard to jump into somebody else's idea, Anne, or?
Oh no, because we each had our characters, and our characters belonged to us. So we could do absolutely what we wanted, and then if we had a scene with all 3 characters, we were each responsible for our own character's voice. If somebody else wrote it, we had to approve it to make sure it was in the right voice.
Which is the best way to do that. Basically, the premise was 3 sisters with supernatural abilities, and they all had different supernatural abilities. So we basically sat down and called dibs on whatever we were going to do. Eileen wanted the oldest sister with shape-shifting, and I took the youngest sister, and Crusie had the middle peacemaker.
Yes. Yes.
Eileen had the bossy older sister, and I had the rebellious younger sister. And Crusie had the peacemaker in the middle, and that's pretty much how we wrote the book.
That was what was going on. I'm afraid.
Eileen and I fought like cats and dogs, and Crusie sat in the middle and went, "Can't we all just get along?"
Yes.
So,
Was that reflective? Did you choose those because you think, was that reflective of your personalities? Are you normally like a peacemaker, and are you a younger sister, Jenny? Yeah.
I'm not a younger sister, but I am. Give me a rule, and I'll go. No, I'm going to go over here. You know,
very rebellious. And I just want peace and quiet.
She just wants peace in the valley.
Yeah.
So you all sort of agreed on the plot, and you all took your own characters, and were responsible for them. So did you brainstorm the plot at RWA, or was this done online afterwards, or how are those sort of sessions done?
Both. We did a lot online, but we also met several times in
this great apartment in the village.
Great apartment in Greenwich Village with a lot of Post-it notes, sticky notes stuck all around.
Yep.
But it wasn't that. We were really doing 3 different plots that were united by one antagonist.
Sure.
All 3 of these sisters were fighting their aunt. So we got that. And then after that, we wrote each character in her struggle. And then we got together in the apartment in Greenwich Village and said, okay, here's what happens in my plot. And really did. We put them on Post-it notes, each scene, and then tried to arrange them in chronological order to see how they'd move in and out.
I think there were color-coded Post-it notes too.
Yes, they were color-coded. We're just as anal as
We were.
but it was fun because we had a lot of freedom. And like Crusie said, we could go into each other's scenes and fix our dialogue. You know, my character wouldn't do this, my character would do this.
Remember the hand on the shoulder?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh shit. Eileen's older sister character put her hand on Jenny's character's shoulder to sort of calm her down, and Jenny responded as if somebody had put their hand on her shoulder.
Well, her character kept trying to boss my character.
Yes.
And tell her what to do. So it wasn't so much the hand on the shoulder, it was like the last straw. I do remember the big martini fight. Remember the martini fight?
Oh, martinis in the diner?
Yes.
Yes.
We had a diner and Eileen wanted martinis there. And I said, diners don't have martinis. And we had this huge fight.
Not in this country.
And then we worked out a way where, you know, this diner did have martinis because the person who ran it was insane, as I remember.
Yes.
But that's the kind of thing where you fight back and forth. We did the same thing with Dogs and Goddesses, where they, we'd get together. Although we did a lot more laughing on Dogs and Goddesses.
Yes.
But I guess that's the beauty of creating your own world. You can have a diner with martinis if you make it feasible enough, can't you?
All you have to do is say how odd it is, and then you get away with it.
Yes, exactly.
I've learned that in writing. What a coincidence.
Yes, that's very true. So what was, I can imagine that. So firstly, when you said you had color coordinated Post-it notes, did you each have your own color, or was it like, okay, so what color were you, Jenny?
I have no idea.
Do you remember, Anne?
I have a picture of those up because I remember taking a picture of it. I have no idea what.
Do you remember what color you were?
Office supplies.
Sorry?
We love office supplies.
Do you remember what color Post-it note your story was?
I think mine was the lavender blue.
Was it?
Okay.
I think so.
That's not important. That's just something that I was curious about.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what my heroine's power was.
You changed things into things. Remember the bunnies?
Oh, transmuted things. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You changed
Yeah.
muffins into bunnies or
Hmm.
the butter knife or something. I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I remember that.
It's been a while.
So, did you establish any rules, or was the only rule about your own characters? I think collaborations probably work best when there are sort of set rules, or did you just sort of have the one about your characters and then just free flowed?
I think it was just the characters, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did. We also blocked out. I don't want to say an outline. Didn't we block out turning points?
Turning points, and when the characters would all join together. So we each had our stories, and then they would come together, and then we would have our stories, and they would come together.
And then toward the end, like the last act, they were together almost the whole time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we had to mesh that way.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that. And then in the end, we go ahead.
I said you did most of the heavy lifting at the end because Jenny's a control freak. Says sweetly. But you ended up writing the whole end.
I ended up writing the antagonist scenes. Remember when we had those?
Oh yes, yes.
So you wrote the aunt scenes.
Yeah, the Zan scenes. They were fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can imagine it must have been super fun to. Did you swap chapters and things like that online throughout the whole process? That must have been fun when somebody's chapter or whatever scene landed in your inbox and you got to read it just for the first time.
Somebody else has written in our book. Yeah, that's always
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you could also see, you know, where you need to jump in maybe with your own characters, but to actually sort of see that book unfolding like that must have been pretty.
Yes, it's nice to write a book and not have to do all the writing.
Right.
Suddenly I've got 60,000 words and I only had to do 20 of them.
Yes, that's right.
So
That's
only that, but it also did follow our personalities so much.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was. We were really writing characters who were us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who published that? Was that
St. Martin?
St. Martin's, okay. And were they on board with the idea straight up, or was this something you guys did and it just
Yeah. My agent pitched it, and Jennifer Enderlin bought it right away as a paperback original.
Yeah, and so Jennifer Enderlin was the editor. She was one who received the manuscript when it was complete.
Yeah, she's marvelous.
Yes, I follow her. She's a great editor. And were there any changes made editorially afterwards? Were there any issues or? Obviously.
Tell her about Zan. Tell her about Zan, Jenny.
And she said this isn't unified enough. And Eileen had gone out of reach. She'd gone on vacation or something. And we got the thing back. And so Crusie and I remember sitting at that table. Remember when we talked about this and we decided, well, we were going to have to do the antagonist. If we put the antagonist scenes in there, that would draw it all together. And I just reread this not too long ago. Without those Zan scenes, we would have been in trouble. They really did pull it together. So we went ahead and I went ahead and wrote the Zan scenes and sent them to Crusie, and she went through them. And then Eileen came back from vacation and said, "What the hell are you doing?" So we had to go through it all again. But yeah, that was the big rewrite, was putting Zan in there, and Jen was absolutely right. It needed that.
You know how they say you shouldn't go into business with your friends? You think you guys all came out of it still friends? Obviously you guys are.
Well, Crusie and I are best friends forever there.
Yes. Do you talk to Eileen very much?
No, I haven't. The last time I saw her was at an RWA awards ceremony, and we sat next to each other and chatted then, but otherwise, I haven't talked to anybody. Crusie's the only person I ever see.
Yes. Right, so the next book was Dogs and Goddesses. And I have the cover here to show. I've got it on E, so I'm just going to show everybody the cover here. Hopefully
That's the same designer, by the way. The same designer.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Ah, I suppose there's kind of similarities with the swirly bits, aren't there? Like,
Yeah.
you can sort of see there are some similarities. Did you like this one as well, this cover?
Yeah.
Not as much.
The first time we did it, they were kind of mud flaps girls, and they're still a little skinny, but
Yeah.
that's the same designer that did the Agnes drawing. You know.
Oh,
the-
Agnes
okay.
was great.
Yeah, Agnes's cover is great. Yeah. It looks it's got a real kind of 70s vibe, don't you think? Like a real lava lamp.
That's why I'm not crazy about it. The orange and the gold on the gold.
She was trying more for Far Eastern Mesopotamian.
Oh, for sand and stuff like that. I see.
Well, yeah, and also the reliefs and the pyramids, and
Yeah.
But they do look like mud flap girls. So I don't know.
And was that published by, that's a little black dress book? That's not St. Martin's, is it? Or is it?
Oh, it is St. Martin's.
Oh, St. Martin's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So with Dogs and Goddesses, you worked with Lani Diane Rich. So I think Eileen wasn't available for this book. Is that right?
No, it started backwards. I had met Lani, and she had a friend who shall be nameless because I'm not sure she wants to be on this. And the three of us were going to do this. And the third friend, who was lovely and very hardworking, something came up with another book she was working on, and she said, I just don't have the time for this. So Lani said, do you know of anybody else who's good at collaborating? As a matter of fact, have you met Ann Stuart? She's very good at collaborating. And that's how it was actually three of us, and then somebody dropped out, and then Crusie came in and was marvelous, as always.
Okay. So did this book also start at the bar at an RWA? the premise for this book? Because it is kind of out there.
Yeah, I think this started in email. I was emailing with Lani and this other author. And I really want to emphasize she was a darling. She was great to work with, but I just don't know. I don't want to drag her in here if she doesn't want to mention.
Yeah.
It was Joyce Carol Oates.
Sure, she has a lot of.
Okay.
We were emailing back and forth, and we came up. I think Lani definitely came up with the title, which I love, Dogs and Goddesses. And I'm not sure. This was a while ago. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but we had the three women.
Yeah.
When the other author dropped out, we dropped her character out too, because I think you should always design your own characters. And invited Crusie in, and Crusie designed her own character then.
Yeah. And so it's like I said, the premise is a little bit out there. Dogs that talk.
A little bit.
So was that like in those original emails? Was that the plan to have these dogs that talked, and or was that?
This is awful. I can't remember.
And I wasn't there at the beginning, so I don't know.
But they were talking when you got there, I imagine.
Yes, when I got there, the dogs were talking, and there was a big mean mama goddess.
I remember you talking about it on your blog, Jenny, when you were doing it about this book you were working on, where the dogs were suddenly started talking to their owners. Yeah, it's so it seems to me there's like quite a bit of supernatural in both of your collaborations. There's a supernatural stuff. I know that you've written supernatural stuff in other books, Jenny. I think you have too. And so what's with that? What draws you to supernatural stuff, you think?
Real life sucks.
Well, that's true.
No, but it sure can. There's no COVID in fantasy.
Not that.
I like the way it works as a metaphor.
Right.
I wrote a ghost story, and it was like there was also a really deep subplot of their pasts haunting them and what they were. So I like the way it works out. In the Dogs and Goddesses thing, these were 3 women who did not see themselves as powerful, and then came into their power as women at the same time they were coming into supernatural powers. I like the way that works. The fact that they could do magic isn't that interesting to me, but the fact that it represents something that's happening in their character arc, to me, is extremely fascinating.
And who wrote the Mesopotamian Professor Chicky one? Whose character was that?
That was Jenny's.
Was yours? Yeah, she really came into her power through that book, didn't she? She was quite, it was a really interesting. Did you just decide? Why did you decide Mesopotamia? Was it something that you were looking at the time, or?
Why did we decide Mesopotamia?
It could be because Lani liked they should be giants, and they had a song about Mesopotamia.
I don't know. I know I used Istanbul, not Constantinople, to write the chant. But I don't remember why we picked Mesopotamia. Yeah,
I remember we all trooped it to the Metropolitan Museum and went and looked at
we did.
all their,
we did
stuff.
research. And that was marvelous, the stuff there.
So much fun.
And how was it different writing with Lani as opposed to Eileen? Or did you all just kind of fall into the same sort of roles again with a third person taking over the kind of Eileen role? Or?
Well, we had a different relationship with Lani.
Yeah.
We were friends with Eileen for a long time, both of us.
Yeah.
But we'd never been close. And we were actually close with Lani. We, the 3 of us would have vacations together and so on.
Yeah.
So, and also, we were a lot more irreverent on Dogs and Goddesses. I think we laughed the whole time. There was never any conflict, but there was a lot of insults. I remember I did a sex scene, and they came back and said, "No, that's just not." Both of them told me my sex scene wasn't good enough.
You told her it lacked dick and awe.
That's right. They said there's, you've got sex, but there's no awe in this. There's no sense that it's transforming. And
it's with a god, there's got to be
awe.
awe.
He is a god,
right.
So there would be. And
there'll be shock and awe.
Instead of dick and awe, yes. And then Lani had a scene
in the courtyard.
Where they necked or something. And so we had this long running battle about how nobody ever has sex in that courtyard until Lani finally gave up and wrote a sex scene there. So, but it was always laughing. We did so much laughing on the book.
We did.
And again, when it went back to, did Jenna Angelin do it again? Was she was there any editorial input from her about that when it was all done?
Was there, Crusie?
I don't remember. I think it went pretty smoothly.
I think that went pretty smoothly.
Had you learned from
something with?
Do you think you'd learned from
we may have pumped up the main character Zan. We may have pumped up Zan a bit. It was Zan in it was Zan in Dogs and Goddesses.
Yeah, we added Zan to.
Who's the one? I mean, Misfortunes. Who was the big bad? And
Kami was the goddess.
Kami, yes. I think we might have beefed her up again at the end. Same problem of not having as much. We needed a bigger big bad.
Yeah, I don't remember getting any. We got major revisions on the first one.
Nothing much on the second.
Misfortunes.
And was that because you had learned so much from the first? Collaboration, do you think that it sort of somehow, even if it just was like subliminally kind of like eked into your subconscious?
It might have, because we put Kami's point of view in this one from the beginning. The antagonist point of view was in there from the beginning, so there might have been that. But otherwise, it's just, I don't know, each book works differently. Well, you know that from writing. You do not have the same experience with each book, even when you're writing alone. They're always different. So...
which is really rotten. You know, you think you finally found the answer, and then the next book wants to be written in an entirely different way. Very frustrating.
It really is.
Yes.
By now, I'd have the hang of this, and I don't.
Yeah, that's very true. They keep shifting the goalpost all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to some just general questions now. Would you both collaborate together again?
Oh yes.
Oh sure.
Without a doubt. We've even talked about some other stuff. So
Right.
back and forth.
There's a project we're talking about. But,
oh, can you give us a little hint?
Fairy tales.
Fairy
tales. That's enough.
Nice. Okay.
She wants to tell you more.
It's an alternate history steampunky thing with fairy tale themes and
fairy tales.
Third person. Like you've done a little bit more than just have a quick chat about this.
No, we have got all sorts of good ideas. I even know who my hero is.
Awesome. Okay, so what is the best thing about collaborating and the worst thing about collaborating? I'll ask you, Anne, first, and then we'll go to Jenny.
Best thing about collaborating is having so much fun with your friends, laughing, working together, sharing a goal. The worst thing is being outvoted. Sometimes you get outvoted. Well, you know, when you're told something about you need more shock and awe, or you need sex in the courtyard when you didn't want sex in the courtyard, or that you can't carry a king-size mattress up on the back.
I knew you'd come back.
You have to tell the mattress story, because I think that happened. We did it last time and we lost that. So tell the mattress story.
Bitter about the mattress story.
I am. Well, I thought it was perfectly reasonable that a young woman could carry a king-size mattress up a narrow stairway. Everybody said no. What?
That has a bend in it.
It has a bend in it, yes, stairway. Yeah. It seemed perfectly logical to me.
Oh, even better than that, she carried it to the place on top of her car.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And Lani and I are sitting here going, no, nobody's going no, you can't.
Well, the thing is, I've done the same thing with a double bed mattress. So I figured if I could do a double, why not a king? But there's a big difference between a double and a king.
So there's no mattress being towed on the car and up the stairs.
I don't know how she gets the mattress up there, but I don't know how.
I had to get that mattress up there, you know. We need a bed.
Perhaps, yeah.
I
remember how she gets it up there now. I'll have to go back and look.
Maybe I just made it a smaller mattress.
Maybe.
Smaller mattress?
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't she have help too? Didn't he help her?
I think he helped her, which was lovely.
Yeah, that's another thing where you can get them together.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. Jenny, best thing about collaborating and worst thing about collaborating? I suspect you're going to say the same things as Anne.
We had so much fun. But also, when you collaborate, you can't stay in your lane. You have to, it's the flip side of what she said. I really like it that they came back and said, you know, this scene needs dicking off. This, you know, you have to do this. There's not enough, because they're living in the book. They're part of the book as you're writing it. So if they come back and go, this part wasn't satisfying for me, or I don't believe it would happen like this, or what, I have to move out of my comfort zone. And I love that. I love it was the same thing collaborating with Bob, collaborating with a guy who was also a Green Beret. He, you know, we just look at each other in mystery sometimes. He'd know all this stuff that I didn't know, and I knew all this stuff that he didn't know. But I learned so much because I was working with people who weren't like me. So that's the part I like. It's exciting and it's fun and you laugh a lot, but you also learn a lot. The part I don't like, I'm not sure I can think of anything. I don't. As long as you have collaborators who are open-minded and pull their weight, it's just a really wonderful experience.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Yeah, that's nice. Was it different collaborating with Bob because he was Bob, or because he was a man, as you were just saying, or just because the story was different altogether?
Well, every time you switch collaborators, your story switches, because you have the space that you write in. I write romantic comedy mostly, and there may be supernatural in it, and there may be mysteries, but it's going to be romantic comedy.
Yeah.
And then you collaborate with somebody else, like Crusie, who writes dark and dangerous heroes, which I never do. And all of a sudden, I'm writing in a world with dark and dangerous heroes, and that's exciting. And then I go to collaborate with Bob, and all of a sudden, I'm writing in a world with guys who shoot people and kick out kneecaps. And you learn things, and it expands. So the kind of book you get depends on the person you're collaborating with. And that's exciting. It really is exciting to collaborate.
Because it pushes you to go places you might not have gone.
And you're compromising in ways that you didn't foresee. Particularly with Bob, because he's a guy, but also I think with both of the collaborations we did that we compromised in ways we wouldn't have if we weren't collaborating, and it was good. It was good for it to stretch.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I asked you this last time, so I'm going to ask you it again. Anne, what is your favorite Jenny book?
My favorite Jenny book is Faking It. I mean, I love them all. Do I love them all? Yes, I love them all. I even love Sizzle.
No, I think Sizzle sucks.
Sizzle too.
But I love, Sizzle was a little novelette she put out that she hates and doesn't want it ever mentioned in public. So I mentioned it every chance I get.
She signed mine saying you really should know better.
Yep, that sounds like it.
That was the first thing I wrote. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay.
But Faking It, I just love. I love the bad sex. I love
awesome.
the forger. I just love the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'm great at bad sex. I don't think that's.
Well, you are. I mean, because the love scene that's mentioned most often, one of the things that's mentioned most often about your work is the love scene from Welcome to Temptation with Finn, where he throws she can't get off. He throws a lamp to distract her and to bring people in, and that's a great scene. So people don't have instant orgasms and fall in love and everything's perfect in bed. They have problems they got to work through, and it makes it much more effective that way.
Yeah, I think if you can write a good bad sex scene, then that's a whole, that's something special.
Well, it gives you a chance to arc the relationship too. If it's great at the beginning, you have nowhere to go.
Yes. Yep.
Also, let's face it, it's never great from the beginning.
It's not. But we lie.
As long as it gets better, that's the main thing.
Right. We're getting the hang of this now. Let's try it one more time.
Exactly.
Well, I just have my hero betray my heroine, so that's why the second love scene is interesting. Because there's always a character arc between the love scenes, but it doesn't, and then it gets better. It starts good and gets better. I like sex. I like writing sex.
Yeah. I think there are people who like to read books that explore all aspects of a relationship, and I think particularly if you're writing in contemporary times, contemporary couples tend to have sex, and particularly at the beginning of a relationship they tend to have a lot of sex. So I think it's nice to have that explored for me and for people who like to read on the spicier end of the spectrum.
But each sex scene has to move the character. They can't just be sex scene after sex scene after sex scene. Has to have a reason.
Has to up the stakes.
Yep, absolutely.
Jenny, your favorite Anne book?
I'm gonna get the title of this wrong. Is it Return to Christmas?
Yep.
The new one? I love this book. It's about a woman who has a pretty bleak life. I mean, she's she's secure, but she's just not living a full life. And she goes to Macy's at Christmas time and walks through the front door and ends up in the 40s in Macy's with the wooden escalator and the, you know, the low-tech windows, and meets a great guy. And it's just the best setting in the world. And I love the heroine, and I love the hero and the supporting cast, and I love that wooden escalator. I'm sorry.
I know. I love that wooden escalator too, because they still have it.
That's got that gorgeous cover with the woman in the red coat.
Yeah, red coat.
And,
oh, it's beautiful cover.
It's beautiful.
But it's just a great book. It's one of those, I don't know, it just wraps around you, and it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to ask you
love that one.
I think we've been talking for a while. I'm just going to quickly ask you both what you're working on now, and then we'll do our little code thing and go from there. What are you working on at the moment, Anne?
I'm working on two things. I've just finished a historical that's called The Absolutely Positively Worst Man in England, Scotland, and Wales. And everybody pokes in and says, "Is that Boris Johnson?" Which it's not.
I love it.
Historical.
Yeah, it's historical, and that's at my editor's right now, and that'll be out in about a couple of months, I think. And I've gone back to working on a romantic suspense that's sort of like Mary Stuart with sex. I'd written the first 100 pages, and my agent didn't like it, but then my agent didn't like Return to Christmas either. So I think she would now when she's read the finished one, but this is just a book that I really loved, and I'm just so happy to be back working on it.
And does it have a name?
I'm calling it, what am I calling it? Oh, I'm calling it Garden of Shadows, and that's definitely not going to be the final name. But it takes place in Spain.
Very gothic-y.
Yes, yeah. Well, maybe it's Garden of Shadows.
Okay, it's certainly different to the, what is it? Absolutely awful, most terrible man in England, Scotland, and Wales.
Right.
I'm already one click in that book already. Jenny, I know that you've had a bit of a long hiatus, and you're not really working on anything officially, but I know you're doodling around with stuff. What do you want to tell us about the?
Well, actually, I've been writing for the whole 10 years. It's been 10 years since I published a book. I just haven't finished anything, except for one book. I finished a book that I really loved. It was called The Devil in Nita Dodd. And I really like this book. I think it's the best thing I've ever written. But it had some problems, and my agent kicked it back to me, and then my country exploded, and I don't think this is the right time for a white author to talk about immigration and race in a romantic comedy. So I'll finish
revising it. It is a great book, though.
I think it's the best thing I've ever written. I really do.
I think so too. I love it. I just love it.
I want it.
To one side. The other thing that I went back to then is a book called Lavender's Blue. It's part of a 3-part series, and I already had 70,000 words done on it. So, and now I'm coming back to it with fresh eyes, and I know how to fix it. I really like it. It's my first person book.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
Yes, and I'm very excited about the sequel, which is called Rest in Pink, and the protagonist gets stuck writing a romance novel, and she has to learn how to write a romance novel. So while she's solving this mystery and dealing with her significant other, she is also learning how to write romance, and that just strikes me as a great deal of fun. So
sounds a lot of fun. Absolutely. Okay, now we have to do this showing our code thing for everybody who's doing a little treasure hunt along with us. So we're just going to hold them up long enough for people to take a screenshot or get the code and write it down. I don't know what's at the end of this treasure hunt, but I reckon it's going to be pretty awesome. So, all right, I think that's probably enough. There we go. Thank you for talking to me today, ladies. It's been lovely.
Oh, it's fun. Always good to talk to you.
Yes, I feel like I haven't spoken to either of you in a decade, and I've talked to you twice in the last month, so it's been awesome.
Well, we have very good memories of lunch with you in Australia. So.
Yeah. I remember picking you guys up from the airport when you both landed that morning, getting off that very long flight.
Yes.
I don't know why I always remember the food. I just remember.
Oh, great food. Great food. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. We do all right for food, I guess. We haven't. Oh, and here comes Sharon. She's back.
Hello, Sharon.
Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for what a lovely session. I really enjoyed being able to kick back and watch it. And I'm sure our readers will love watching it at the Romantic Rendezvous Locked Down, which will be announced in our July newsletter. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.